We're talking about super injunctions. Are they really super injunctions, Andy? All the press are full of the phrase super injunctions. What's that then?
Well, a super injunction is actually a very rare beast, and most of the injunctions that you see or hear about are in fact privacy injunctions. A super injunction is where nothing can be said at all. So in other words, you can't even report the existence of the injunction itself. You're not allowed to say even that it exists.
Oh, right.
So that's to give you maximum protection. So most of the injunctions are privacy injunctions, so that you're aware that there has been an order, and you might even say that it's even general terms about it, like it concerns someone in the sports area or something like that. But you can't find out who it is.
So they're not really super injunctions at all.
Not
they're just
really,
privacy
no.
orders.
Not really, and of course it sets off a whole rash of speculation, because the press like nothing better than a good story to dig up.
Yeah.
And the first
Who
one,
is it?
First one that gets it is going to get the dosh.
Yeah, that's right. So we are used to those at the moment about sporting personalities, media, celebrities, that kind of thing. Presumably that's not been invented specifically for them. Presumably these things have happened before that. Politicians, famous people. That kind of thing.
I mean, it's got a lot more publicity lately. Sounds ironic considering it's all about secrecy, but anyway, it's got a lot more publicity because of the Human Rights Act and the way in which the law of privacy has been developed, which is only really over the last few years. And the effect of that is that the rich and famous are now going to court to protect their private lives, which they couldn't do before. We had something called the law of confidence, which was much more restrictive, and you had to show that there was an essence of confidentiality. Whereas these kind of things that are going on at the moment, there's not necessarily any great essence of confidentiality. It's just people don't want it to come out. They say it's my private affairs, literally private affairs sometimes, and that's it. And the only counterbalance to that is, again in the Human Rights Act, is the right to free expression. So you get the one right in the Human Rights Act weighed against the other, and the judges have to decide where the balance falls, which is a difficult task, and they've been struggling with this and developing the case law accordingly. But the main test is it in the public interest to reveal these things, and the balance is generally against that, because it's not, as much as we might be interested,
it's not any business of the public,
interest.
is it, frankly? If a footballer has been having a relationship with somebody he shouldn't have been having a relationship with, it's of no genuine public interest. It's just nosy people who want to find out about the lives of the rich and famous. So it's not new, but is it really exploding in terms of numbers?
Yes,
recently?
it is, and of course there's a challenge not only from Parliament on this, in terms of people speaking in Parliament against it, but also Twitter as well is fighting a rearguard action to try to stop this. But one thing I would say about the public interest thing, there may be some cases which do fall within it, and the one that's of interest at the moment that's going through is the Fred Goodwin case, which is Fred the Shred. You may know
RBS.
that term, because he is alleged to have had an affair whilst he was working at RBS.
Did it affect his ability?
Well, that's the question, and it's being argued, although I'm not sure that the legal arguments stand up, that it's of public interest because it may have had some bearing on the way in which RBS was managed.
And this is for the realm of the rich and famous.
Absolutely. I mean,
because if Joe Bloggs wanted us to have a super injunction on, that everybody in his street didn't want to know about what's going on, he couldn't afford to do it.
No, you wouldn't get legal aid for it.
Can you get legal aid?
No, you can't. The Max Mosley case is relevant because Max Mosley, was surrounded with allegations concerning various, sexual parties of one sort or another. Yeah. He went to court and he didn't get an injunction, but because it was too late, in the sense it was all out there, so the judge thought it was pointless. The horse was bolted. He did get damages. I think it was about 50,000 odd for breach of his right, but he took the view that was really a waste of time. He'd spent about that much on it anyway, and money is no object probably to him. So he went to the European Court to see whether he could extend this, at least for future cases, to whereby the press should notify people in advance before they publish a story. But the trouble is, the European Court was struggling with this, because how do you enforce that? Again, you can only enforce it by a further financial penalty. In fact, actually, the press normally do contact people with stories because they usually ask people what their side of the story is. But obviously, in certain cases, and the Max Mosley is an example, they didn't do it. But they're not legally obliged to do it.
No. The Ryan Giggs injunction or privacy order, whatever you correctly call it, fell to pieces because so many people had revealed who it was on Twitter and Facebook and social networking sites. So, and that's why it hit all the press, really, because it said that even though the newspapers couldn't reveal who it was, they said, everybody says it's a particular person on Twitter, and so people no doubt flew to the internet to find out who it was. Does this then mean that they're now a waste of time?
No, it doesn't, because as one of the QCs said in the Ryan Giggs case, because you don't catch all burglars doesn't mean burgling is now fine.
Oh, okay.
So the law will still try to carry on with this, but obviously there comes a point where injunctions are a waste of time. Privacy law is just developing really in the ways through these cases, and but I mean, according to the statistics, there's been only 70 privacy injunctions in the last 5 years, which is not a huge number.
So when you say they're developing, precedents will become set. Which judges will refer to previous cases, etc.
Right,
Okay, so in the age of Facebook and Twitter and so on and so forth, the privacy law is not threatened. It's still going to continue.
Yeah.
But it may be that Twitter and Facebook get reined in a little bit.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for steering us through that. It was very interesting. I wonder who the next celebrity will be whose name is involved in this kind of thing. Could be anyone, couldn't it?